the pop-up freezing you constantly. You're unable to move or react. You basically have to sit there and wait for someone to join. Not even just that, that's half of the problem. This is the other half. After a long queue timer into a spam of pop-ups, you get into a dungeon and someone instantly leaves, which then spirals out of control and causes multiple people to leave until everybody leaves. These two major frustrations are what they're hoping to fix when this new patch arrives. But for the most part, this begs the question, will adding penalties to Throne of Liberty ruin the game? Throne of Liberty already has penalties, it's for the arena mode. But this set of penalties will be for the dungeons. Now before we answer the question if Throne of Liberty will be ruined, let's address where the penalties are actually going to go. It's not just going to be randomly placed, they have specific places where they're going to put these penalties. There's three types of ways to enter a dungeon in Throne of Liberty. The first way is matchmaking. This is something that almost all games have. You matchmake, you get put with random teammates for better or worse, and you're supposed to clear the dungeon. The second way is randomized dungeons. You don't know which dungeon you're going to go into, but it's just going to put you in a random dungeon that needs you. The goal of this queue is to shorten the queue times for matchmaking and also make it so that players that are doing the randomized can help other players clear their dungeons. The third way to enter a dungeon is going to be the party board. This is going to be where you want to find the people with the best stats, the people that understand the mechanics. You want to find the best group possible. You use the party board. So now that we understand the ways to enter a dungeon, which ones are going to be penalized? The first penalty is going to be for queue dodging. A lot of players will queue up, and if they don't get the dungeon that they want in the randomized dungeons, they'll cancel it. This is what leads to that permanent pop-up because people are not getting the dungeon that they want, so they just cancel the queue and continue to queue up, and then it causes this cycle of like pop-up, 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 pop-up. So this should not only cut down the time it takes to find a match, but this will cut down the amount of pop-ups that you'll see whether you're queuing into a dungeon or you're already in one looking for someone else. The second penalty they're going to add is going to be the players that end up leaving the dungeon. So if you leave a dungeon, you will be penalized, but there's going to be a timer for how long you need to stay in the dungeon before you can get penalized. I don't really think Tico should have shared that because the community for Throne of Liberty likes to abuse the crap out of systems. So should someone find the magic number, you're gonna have someone just sit there and AFK and wait to get kicked, or sit there and AFK and wait for the timer so they can leave. And don't look at me like that. Y'all know on this channel, I keep it honest and I keep it real. The community for Throne of Liberty right now are some cheesers. They will definitely abuse any system. So should there be an actual fixed timer, someone's gonna abuse that system, or they're gonna abuse something else to get out of the dungeon for free. So I think Tico shouldn't be so transparent on certain things like that. Now hold up, I know some of you got some complaints, like Poppin'. The reason why I leave dungeons is because they're new players, or they don't understand the mechanics, or they're stupid. In my opinion, that's not really an excuse. If you wanna run a dungeon with like the best party possible, use the party board so you can find an actual good team. Otherwise, you shouldn't be complaining about that. As I said though, the penalty should not apply to you if you make it all the way to the boss and you end up wiping and you just don't want to be there. The penalty explained by Tico, my man Tico, was that it's going to be at the beginning of the dungeon, not the end. So if you are like, bro, these guys are trash buckets, well, you can leave and not be penalized at the end. Another one is like Poppin', the tank pulls like crap, or the DPS pulls like crap and they're causing a wipe. Well, it's again, matchmaking. You don't really pick your teammates in that scenario. No matter what game you play, you're gonna have bad teammates. You gotta work with them. Again, I don't think that's a reason to like ruin a game, in my opinion. Ooh, what about this one? Poppin', they're under geared. You can easily tell because their weapon is this, that, or the traits are bad, the colors are blue and not purple, and they don't have the best thing that I want for my team. Again, it's matchmaking. You're not gonna get your best teammates. You queue in with a random team and you just kind of gotta get what you get and don't throw a fit. It sucks, I know, hey, I've been there, but that's the point of matchmaking. You can't choose who is properly prepared. As far as I'm concerned, if the dungeon lets the player into the dungeon, then they are good to go no matter what gear score, no matter what weapons. But I will say that sometimes some bosses do one shot. And I think this is a problem for the Throne of Liberty developers. They should lower the damage of some of these one-shot abilities, or they should up the gear score threshold so players are more prepared. I don't think you should ruin games by leaving because you don't like their weapons, but I do think the developers need to do something to like remedy this issue, because I do understand where you're coming from, and I do think that something needs to be done. But constantly leaving dungeons because you don't like a weapon is ridiculous. Like I said, this channel is honest. You might not hear what you want to hear from me, and that's okay. Another one is like Poppin', they have the wrong weapons. I agree with you there. Bro, I seen a freaking tank running sword and shield and bow. they would gather up the mob and start kiting. Bro, we insta-kicked that person. No, they had to go. I think that there should definitely be a restriction for which weapons you should use. There's no way a tank should be able to queue as a tank with non-tank stuff, period. I don't care what class it is. I also think there needs to be a tank stance. Those are the two things that I'm fighting for that I want. If you queue as tank, you need to have a sword and shield and a tank heavy weapon or the wand, perfectly fine because you can buff and heal yourself and all that, so you're tanky in that department. But there needs to be some set of like which weapons you can and cannot use. If you choose DPS, you better not be running a sword and shield, period. I don't care who you are, that's the rules that should be made. And if you're a healer, you better have a healing weapon, period. I don't care. No, because I'm tired of people queuing into these slots, man, just to get a faster queue, and then they just ruin the whole run and we gotta expel them, and it sucks. So like that needs to be like fixed pronto. But I don't leave dungeons because of it. We just expel that person. I'd rather go down the route of you expelling someone because of a specific reason rather than leaving instantly, because it causes a chain reaction of multiple people leaving, and it just makes things annoying and last longer. Speaking of expelling someone, you should not be able to expel someone multiple times a day. You should get like 1 or 2 expels a day. There's no reason, because people be expelling for the dumbest reasons, and so if you give them a limit of how many they can use to expel, they'll think twice about, do they really want to waste it on this person, or can they get through it? Those are the things that I think that would make dungeon better. I love dungeoning, and it's kind of crap right now. So in my opinion, these penalties will make a world of difference. So for me, no, this will not ruin the game. However, I'm not the type of person that thinks I'm always right. I could be completely wrong. It could destroy the game. But in my experience of playing multiple games over many years, having a penalty to keep players in check is never a bad thing. This is why we have penalties in other games, and this is why we have the law in the real world. There's things that need to be in place so people don't do things they shouldn't be doing. At the end of the day, and I hate to say this, but it's like definitely true, and again, I keep it real on this channel. I don't really care about feelings. I just tell the truth and what I'm thinking. At the end of the day, Throne of Liberty is one of those games where it's like, we have a lot of supremacy behavior issues, and it does not matter your age. You can be 40, 50, 60, 12. There's a supremacy issue, and this comes with, I'm in the top guild, better than everybody. I have a better gear score, better than everybody. I have better weapons, better than everybody. And that's one of the main things that really ruin this game, in my opinion, is that supremacy thing going on. That type of thing is what makes players not want to continue to play the game, especially if they're new. And I'm not even the one being hit by it. I literally read people talking about other people. So if it's bad for me to just read it, I don't even want to know what it's like to receive it. It's not something that they tried to keep in check from the get-go. That's literally the community I think they're trying to build, that supremacy community. But I guess for the most part, it's fine to have that, but just don't talk down to people. You know, there's a lot of like cursing and a lot of name calling and just a lot of like real behavioral issues tied along with that supremacy thing. It's okay to think you're better, but like at the end of the day, we're all the same, like human, so to speak. You know, we're all people, so we should be equal. I get if you're in the better guild, if you're the top PvPer, if you have the best stats, you know, flaunt that, you know, that's you, good job to you. But you shouldn't be just disrespecting everybody under you. That's just, it's a game. We're here to have fun. You know, I respect your grind, good job, but you should not be name calling. Even if you're 10, you're too old to be name calling. You shouldn't be raging at someone for not knowing the mechanics. How on earth are you supposed to learn the mechanics if you're always kicked out of dungeons because you can't get through the clear because you can't learn the mechanic? Like, there's just, it's just too much. There's too much of the supremacy crap, and I really do hope it changes for the better. But that's a video for a whole nother time. I haven't done a talk video in ages, but I wanted to do a talk video for this upcoming change because I think this is going to be a great turning point and the start of a great turning point for the game. But of course, I love reading your comments below. I love seeing you guys also talk to each other. I read everything. I read everything. I heart everything, but be respectful. Sometimes I let it slide with me because I don't really care too much about it. But when I see other people disrespect others in the comments, I really don't like that. So please stay respectful to the people that you're talking to. We're all human. We all deserve respect. It's a game. Enjoy yourself. You're not king of the world because you have a high guild or high gear score or best weapons. It just means you play a lot. That's all that means. Relax, chill. I will pat your back. I'll give you a hug, milk and cookies. What you need, I got you. Just make the game fun for everybody. Until next time, you know what I always say. They got you doing what? Popping off. Well, often.